Hey guys, for today's post, we're going to try a little bit different format than our typical long form blog post. We're going to, in an effort to start trying to bring you more regular content about all of the great products and services that Triplex offers, we're going to go to like a video format and try to post weekly videos to give you the same information that we always have and just keep you up to speed with everything that's going on in the high purity process industry. So for today's post, what we wanted to talk about was a new product for us. We announced it recently. Triplex is now the exclusive distributor for Waukesha's new industrial series of positive displacement pump, the Universal 2 ND. We're the exclusive distributor for the state of Illinois. Today we wanted to kind of give you an overview and show you the differences between the Universal 2, the historical sanitary pump that we've always offered, and the Universal 2 ND, which is the new pump positioned specifically for the industrial markets and what the differences are. So let's get started. The first thing that we want to look at with the, or remember with the ND is that the ND platform is really, or the ND pump is built off of the Universal 2 platform. So in a lot of ways, these two pumps, the Universal 2 and the Universal 2 ND, have a lot more in common than they have different, okay? So here's just a quick table that shows you the overview and the differences and similarities between the two. As you can see, we have about a 30-year age gap between the Universal 2 and the Universal 2 ND. The U2 was originally released in 1994. It was one of the first ECP, external circumferential piston style pumps, developed specifically to be cleaned in placed. Accordingly, because it was a sanitary pump, it's going to come standard with a 32 RA finish, a wet end external polished finish. It's obviously 3A certified for all your dairy applications. The seal options for it are going to be single mechanical and double mechanical, so there are no O-ring options, O-ring seal options for the U2 or the U2 ND at this time. The models that we have for the U2 are the same as the ones we have for the U2 ND. So with the U2, we have the 6, 15, 18, 30, 60, 130, 220, as well as the 320. There's some other models in there as well. The 6, 15, 18, that generally means the nominal capacity of the pump. So a U2 6 is going to be about 6 gallons a minute, whereas a U2 130 is going to be about 130 gallons a minute. Those models are the same between the Universal 2 and the Universal 2 ND. So the volumetric ratings of the pumps are the same. Same with pressure ratings. So we're using the same gear case, same shaft design. Everything between the U2 and the U2 ND is very similar. Our rotor material in the U2 ND is that great tried and true Waukesha Alloy 88. That's that high nickel content grade of stainless that Waukesha really patented and built the Universal Series around. We have the same rotor clearances available for the U2 and the U2 ND. The standard finish on a sanitary Universal 2 is going to be that kind of trademark Waukesha blue or a stainless steel gear case, whereas in our ND, we're going to have either Steelit or also a stainless steel option as well. Both pumps, the U2 and the U2 ND, are CIP-able. Standard ports for the U2 are going to be tri-clamp. Standard ports on the U2 ND are going to be 150-pound flanges. The other thing that we want to talk a little bit about is surface finish, right? So the U2 ND, it is a sort of it's a unpolished or a lesser polished version of the U2. So we just optimize some of the things for industrial space where they don't have the requirements that you have in U2, right? Or in a sanitary industry. So instead of being 32 RA minimum on a U2 ND, it's going to be 125 RA minimum. On the external, we have that polished finish on a U2 sanitary pump. On the U2 ND, it's going to be unpolished. Just from the few that we've seen come through here, we don't notice a tremendous difference in visual appearance at this time. That may change, but right now, visually, unless you're measuring it with a profilometer, it's going to be pretty comparable. The important thing to remember with surface finish is that if you're running a sanitary application, almost always you're going to need 32RA or better. But a lot of times with specialty chemical applications, some personal care products, oils, soybean oils, alcohols, things like that, you may need something that's cleanable but might not require that 32RA finish. Those are the applications where you may want to consider a U2ND. So as we've been kind of saying, the U2ND takes the best features of the sanitary U2 while eliminating some of the unnecessary features that you might not need as an industrial user, a more general industrial user. As we mentioned, we just talked about the surface finish. Our port connections are also going to be 150-pound flange or NPT. You can still get tri-clamp in U2ND, but there is a pretty significant premium for that. The rotors are both alloy 88 with options for 316 stainless steel. As we touched on previously as well, our seal options for the U2ND are going to be single mechanical or double mechanical seals. Down the road, we may see some single lip seals or a triple lip seals. Elastomer options are going to be Viton, Buna, or EPDM. There's also silicone and FFKM or CalRes for super aggressive applications, just like the same as the U2. There are special coatings available for highly abrasive applications. We have Armalloy TDC, which is we actually see that and use that quite a bit in sanitary applications. But then we have some industrial specific coatings as well with Exponite and CDC, where we're not going to use those in abrasive sanitary applications, but they may be appropriate in some of the more industrial applications. The things that we removed from the ND to get it to a price point where we can compete against the Vikings, the Moinos, just the general industrial pumps that we see out there. We pulled that 32RA, so we're not going to be spending as much time polishing this pump as we would a sanitary pump. There's no EP or passivation option. That being said, we can passivate in-house if that is a concern that you have. So Triplex can passivate that pump if you do purchase it from us. We do see some industrial users who still want to passivate their lines, make sure everything's clean before putting it into use. That's really driven by a trend in the conversion from batch processing to continuous processing. So, guys who are making things like Stable and things like that, they want to be able to run continuously to increase their efficiency. So they want to be able to transition from a batch process to a continuous process. And while it's not food grade, it still needs to be cleanable so that they don't cross-contaminate their products. They want to run all these things usually through one or two fillers, right? So they want to make sure everything's clean, but not necessarily sanitary. So we still can passivate. Our seal option, if we're going to every U2ND is going to come with flush ports on it. So there's no sort of confusion on the Universal 2. Sometimes we'll see people who start with a single mechanical seal realize they need a double seal, and then we have to go back and we have to drill or modify the body. Every U2ND pump is going to come standard with flush ports. We do not offer ISRs for the U2ND at this time. We know that's a popular thing, so if it's something that you really want to see in an ND, please let us know. And then, as we also mentioned, we removed tri-clamp connections as an option for the ND as a standard inclusive option. For an additional price, you can get tri-clamps on a U2ND, but that sort of takes away from some of the cost savings benefit that you're going to get on the ND versus the U2. So where does this fit into the overall Waukesha PD pump portfolio? You may be familiar with the 5000 series as well as the U2 AP and SP series. So the 5000 series isn't going away. But the U2ND, from a cost standpoint, is now going to be our lead offering. We're really only going to offer that 5000 series where you're going to need a commercial seal, something like a John Crane seal or a packing seal is where we're still going to use the 5000 series. The U2 AP and SP, those are AP stands for automotive paint and SP stands for starch pump. So those are basically standard U2s with a couple of features that differentiate it and put it into its own classification. We can offer those with the ND as well. So basically, the AP and SP will slowly go away, and we'll be able to bring those features into the ND. So if you do require them, don't hesitate to reach out, and we'd be happy to quote you the appropriate U2 ND. Just to kind of wrap up, the last thing that we'll talk about again here is our seal materials and options. As you'll see, it's very similar with the ND versus the traditional U2. We have single and mechanical seal options. Our seal face materials are going to be carbon ceramic, are going to be your standard. Your standard seal face will be carbon, with your seal seat being ceramic. We also offer silicon carbide, tungsten carbide with narrow face options as well. And then as we talked about, our elastomer options are Buna, FKM, EPDM, PTFE, FFKM, silicone, and we're probably not going to offer Class 6 elastomers, because if you need Class 6 elastomers, you're not going to be using an industrial pump anyway. So that's kind of an overview, guys, of the new Universal 2 ND and how it compares to the Universal 2 that's been around forever. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us at Triplex Sales. We are the only distributor for the U2 ND in the state of Illinois, and we'd be happy to support you in any way we can. Thanks again for your time, and we hope you enjoyed this new format.